Hello and welcome to the Thrive After 45 podcast, where we redefine the significance of you, for you, by you, because of you. My name is Denise Drinkwalter. I'm a midlife renewal coach here to help women embrace their power, purpose, and potential. This show is your space to explore what's possible when you prioritize you through inspiring conversations, experts' insights, and real stories. We'll uncover how to navigate transitions, rediscover joy, and thrive inside and out. It is time to let go of guilt and fully embrace the life that's waiting for you. This is the Thrive After 45 podcast. It's your time to thrive for you, by you, because of you. It is such an honor and a privilege to welcome Wendy Alexander to our podcast today, episode 3. Wendy is a career coach for midlife women, dedicated to helping professionals, especially menopausal women, break free from unfulfilling careers and step into their career 2.0, the fulfilling life they truly desire. With over 15 years of career coaching experience and 2 decades in the corporate world as a hiring manager, Wendy brings that insider knowledge of what truly makes a candidate stand out. Her journey to this work is nothing short of inspiring. Growing up as, growing up as a woman of color during apartheid in South Africa, Wendy developed resilience and adaptability early on. Her life experiences, from surviving domestic violence and financial hardship as a single mother to rebuilding her life and climbing the corporate ladder, have given her firsthand insight into transformation and reinvention. But after years of success in the corporate world, she realized the work was draining her, leading her to forge her own path as a coach. Through one on one coaching, group workshops, public speaking, and books, Wendy has impacted thousands of lives, guiding midlife professionals through career transitions, confidence rebuilding, and managing workplace challenges like menopause. She empowers women to take charge of their careers, build their personal brands, and master the job application and interview process. Wendy, welcome to Thrive After 45 podcast. I am so excited for our conversation today.
Thank you, Denise. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine everything that you went through to get to what you are doing today. You have covered so much, not only in your corporate life, but in everything else, and helping to now guide women in their search for having a fulfilling job and life overall, and how menopause can impact that even as we think things are going along well. Do you find that you have seen such a variance over the years in terms of the people that you support? Has it changed over the years since you've been doing this work?
So I would say that the conversation is occurring more in the corporate workplace now than it
Okay.
was when so it's interesting your podcast is Thrive After 45 because my menopausal journey and my change and exit out of corporate happened around that time. So menopause hit me at age 45. It was a
Yeah.
bit of a shock because in my mind, it was supposed to happen in my 50s, right? The stereotypes and what we expect of life and all of these things. And then, it started with the first hot flash, probably just around my 45th birthday. And then that
Mm-hmm.
the symptoms grew. Um, and parallel to that, I was starting to recognize that I was quite unhappy in corporate. So I'd been working in high
Mm.
powered positions for a few years then,
Yeah.
mostly hiring for huge transformation projects. We're
Okay.
talking 100, 200, $300 million deliveries. So I was
Wow.
managing these massive budgets and the people that were delivering.
Mm.
And I wasn't happy anymore. For me, I was getting bored with the same repetitive tasks and the same repetitive expectations of, CEOs and senior management. And then
Yes.
menopause came along and caused the stress. So, but back then, there wasn't any support and there certainly wasn't any conversation around this topic.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was one of the things, as I started to seek help, started to do my own research. I was also journaling at the time. I've always been a journaler. So whenever I'm struggling in life, I tend to process with
Yeah.
words and writing. Since I left corporate and started to really pivot my work to helping the midlife woman,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have noticed that the conversation is starting to open up in the workplace, but I don't think we're at the points where women are fully supported.
Right.
So I'm still talking to women who are coming to me saying, um, I need to exit corporate, or I'm stressed to the max and I want to make a change in my life. I want to leave these high powered jobs, or I hate my job completely and I want to go into an industry that I sort of held in my heart as a younger woman, but didn't pursue
Mm-hmm.
because, like me, they pursued something that was about paying the bills, making the money, having the consistent
Right.
income, right?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
definitely have seen changes happening, but it's change that's happening very slowly. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say we're anywhere near where we need to be in the workplace.
Do you see a role for us as a collective, women in the workplace? Do you see a role for us to be able to help move that needle? And how would that even become more of a reality than it is? Yes, I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing a lot of information coming in about this is important, and there's a lot more conversation around menopause and perimenopause and the whole changes of life indeed. And I wonder if you can see anything where we could join together somehow, or what that could even look like to get the message to actually not just be started, but make it a movement that's actually going to make changes. Is there a way?
Well, I actually believe that the only ones who can play that role is the women,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So we need to take on, and this is some of the things when I'm working with clients. So I'm often working with midlife women who want to exit, so they're looking for the strategies on how they do
Right.
that. But I often, before we get to that discussion of how do we exit the current job, I try to have the conversation with them around how can you be impactful in making the change within your company. So instead of you
Mm,
leaving the company because you think that there's no opportunity to be supported, or for you to thrive, given that your body is now going through all these changes and it's starting to impact you,
yeah.
um, are you even willing to be one of the champions? So that's often a
Love.
conversation I have with a lot of women. And then they go, well, where do I start? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
where all change starts, which is in human resource departments. That would be the first place to start. So go and
Perfect.
approach the HR departments, try to get that conversation up and going. Because the other thing that I want women to remember is that
Yes.
we are the ones that initiated the support for us when we were going on maternity leave. So why can't we initiate the support for us as we enter midlife? Right? It's not all
So-
that different. Like, companies took a while to get
Right.
on board, but now, before women would go on maternity leave, there wouldn't be a lot of opportunity for them to sort of be the present mothers and
Yeah.
continue the professional life, right? But then
Right.
companies started putting in place facilities where some women could go
Yes.
and pump out the breasts and have
Yeah.
milk for the baby. I mean, simple things like that. Or do the job share programs where two women would
Right.
get across one role and they'd share it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
eventually companies did come along. We were the ones that had to advocate for that. It's
Yeah.
interesting to me how we seem to stumble when it comes to midlife. We don't speak up a lot about it.
Yes.
Um, Maybe it's because if we're talking about that maternity piece of life where we're going on maternity leave, there are men who usually are sitting at the top of companies. That is still the case.
Yes.
Handful of female CEOs in the world, but let's face it, most of them are male.
Right.
And the thing is, they have children too. So often, maybe
Right.
that's an easier way to bridge that conversation because they know the impact of, well, if my wife is not home or if she doesn't get a job share and she's working 5 days a week, how is that going to impact the caring of the kids and the running of the home? So they
Right.
maybe are more open to that conversation at that stage. But when we get to
Yeah.
midlife, most men do
Mm-hmm.
not understand menopause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and women change, and so they often look at us as though we're crazy. That word
Yeah.
has been applied a lot to women because they haven't understood that it's not about a woman being crazy. It is about the impact of the physical changes,
Yeah.
dropping of
Exactly.
estrogen and what it does to the body. It
Right. Yeah.
does induce brain fog, right? So a
Yeah.
woman who,
Oh
like in
yeah.
my case, I was what I would consider a super competent and very organized woman.
Right.
Suddenly menopause comes and I am forgetting things. I have to
Yeah.
write down everything, make a to-do list, and even then I'm forgetting what's on my to-do list, right?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
don't look
Oh,
at the to-do
totally.
list, I don't know what's
Yeah.
coming next. And
Yeah.
so I remember going through extreme doubt and a shattering of my confidence. And
Absolutely.
so these are all the things that are happening around this change in our life. And so I believe that women are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that have to advocate.
Yeah.
We're the ones that have to have that conversation
Yeah.
and start the conversations and do the education piece for some of the
Yeah.
senior executives, which are mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when I started to speak about it,
Yeah.
I actually, to be honest, found the men far more open to that conversation than even the women.
Oh,
That
thank you
was
for
the
that tip.
interesting.
That's
It
great
was the
news.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the men were open, and I have a partner who has that conversation because one of the things he said to me one day, he goes, "I'm losing all my midlife female talent." He runs huge
Mm.
programs at work as well, and he's saying
Yeah.
the women that are super competent, that are organized, he goes, they're getting to this stage in life and then they just exit. And he goes, I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to keep them because they've got the knowledge, they've got the skills, they've got the
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
And that was when him and I started having these conversations. And when I shared, because I wrote a book about my journey through menopause, and he did the first edits on it. And it was only
Okay.
when he read that very first draft that he said to me, I had no idea this was going on in your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Right? He was living with me,
Yeah.
sleeping next to
Exactly.
me, and didn't
Yeah.
know that I was struggling as much as I was struggling until he read
Yeah.
the doubt that I'd gone through, the
Yeah.
challenges mentally, physically, emotionally. And he
Yeah.
was and he was like, oh my God, this is what's happening to the women. That's why they're walking off my projects. That's why they're leaving, you know. And so
Yeah.
he suddenly became very interested in having these conversations, and other men have too,
Of
because they are
course.
starting to notice that they're losing this valuable resources.
Yeah.
But also what I noticed was when I started talking, also when I get some of my clients to start having the conversation, they
Yeah.
come back and they say, the boss was a lot more receptive than I expected him to be.
Mm.
And then when they got a little bit deeper into the conversation, they realized that he was looking for answers too, because he was also a midlife man with a
I was
midlife wife or a midlife partner going through menopause. And he
right.
didn't understand a lot of what was going on. And suddenly these women are coming, they talking to HR departments, they
Yep.
initiating processes and conversations to support women.
Yep.
And he
Yeah.
and the guys are suddenly going, oh my God, is that's what's going on with her? You know,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could relate to it. And so I think that we do hold that we need to be the ones that are the
Yeah.
pioneers of the
Yes.
conversation, because you can't expect men to
Of
understand
course.
or to speak about this topic that fundamentally affects us.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. I love what you're saying because I'm starting to see a parallel when you shared earlier, when we started the have to talk about I am child rearing. This is important. And once they saw that connection, but what you're saying is your experience thus far and with your clients as well, as they start the conversation, there is a connection back. There is a
Yes.
reality that the men are seeing. Oh my gosh, tell me more because this is making sense to me now that I have, these experiences with people in my life, whether it be friends, whether it be spouses, whether it be other people at work, who knows? But
Yes.
the
Yes.
fact that we tend to, as women in particular, I find, and you might find this too or not, I don't know, but what I do find is that we put a lot of information through our own heads and we stop things before they even get a chance to be tried. So having those conversations with HR are imperative, not only for you, but for them as well. But you have to be the voice and
Absolutely.
don't cut yourself off that, well, they're not going to listen anyway because they don't listen when I talk about this or that. We don't know until we have those types of conversations. Does that make sense
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, sometimes I've often wondered if, and I do believe that perhaps we carry deep cellular and social programming. Women have been fighting for so many things for
Yeah.
so long, fighting for the
Yes.
vote, fighting for rights, fighting for equity in opportunity and in pay. We've been fighting. And so this is the thing. So often, I don't know, sometimes if the collective feminine is just tired of
Tired.
fighting,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Tired.
Yeah.
Like, why do I
Yeah.
have to keep fighting? Why do I have to keep?
Yeah.
But then, anything worth
Yeah.
having in life is worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is kind of the message I try to instill, because I
Mhm.
do have the conversation. Some of the women go, I'm just so
Yeah.
tired. I don't want
Yeah.
to take on another course. I can barely sleep at night. I'm going through hot flashes and mood swings and all the stuff. I got to deliver on my projects. I got to run the household. I got to make sure the husband's okay. I got to make sure the kids are okay. I'm tired, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
a lot of women feed back to me. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, I understand that, and it is important to take your rest, and it is important to prioritize what you can and can't take on. But the conversation doesn't move forward unless we take it on.
Right.
Someone has
Right.
to do it, and why not
Right.
you or why not me, right?
Right.
Because otherwise, our daughters following behind us, are going to be still trying to fight this battle in 20,
Right.
30 years' time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
For sure.
so it's one of the reasons I have a daughter. I only have one
Yeah.
child, and it's a daughter. And for
Yeah.
me, that is worth trying to set the groundwork for her, so that when
Mhm.
she comes up to that age,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier for her.
Mhm.
And this is what I say
Yeah.
to a lot of women: if society and changing things doesn't motivate you, then maybe let your daughter motivate you, or a
Mhm.
friend's
Yeah.
daughter, or if you are godmother to a young girl. Like, think of the
Mhm.
generation coming behind us.
Right.
And yes, I understand that we do get tired of fighting because we have been doing it for so long.
Mhm.
But if you want to make the change, that's what's
Yeah.
required. That's what's
Well,
required.
and I wonder too, um, if it helps to rephrase it instead of saying fighting, just saying, how do you do what is best for you, by you, because of you? And what is best is making
Yeah,
sure that you are looked after, and the primary person to look after you is you. And we are
correct.
not attuned to do that naturally or
No,
societal wise, because just like you said before, we look after, I'm too tired. I can't do this. I'm doing everything else. Where we are missing the mark, I believe, and have always felt this, is that we aren't giving back to ourselves, because that's that whole, it's being selfish, it's being, and we can go on and on about that whole aspect, because when we do that, we're shortchanging ourselves. And when we do that, we don't give our best to anybody else, because we haven't given our best to ourselves. So I
Yeah.
hear exactly, and I'm sure you can empathize with those who are saying, I'm just tired. However, there are other ways to do it than just always coming with your your sword and your,
Yeah.
your weaponry and go, ah, it just having conversations sometimes also gives people, oh my gosh, I never even knew that, instead of having to go in and do the big fight. But if we have those conversations more consistently over time, that too can also build that momentum. I can see anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's about women finding their voice. And one of the things that
Yes.
I think it becomes super important at midlife, it's a very sacred time. I mean, I remember when I entered that time, there was obviously loads of resentment because I didn't know what was happening to my body. I was
Of
angry that it
course.
had come so early for me.
Yep.
But
Yep.
as I journaled and started to really write about it, I started to see the sacredness of the whole
Yeah.
journey. And it was the
Mm.
time more than any other time where I actually didn't ignore the question that had been bubbling in me for years, which was, what about me?
Yeah.
Because and as I wrote, I started to discover. I was like, oh my God, I have this lists of many things that I do in life, and everything and everyone else is a priority on this list, and I'm not even on the list. That was one of the
Hmm.
things I uncovered, and that was the big shift for me. The shift came because I discovered that I wasn't on my own list, and maybe a list or two that I was on, I certainly wasn't a priority.
Yeah. There you go.
And then I started to really dig into the question, like, what about me? And what about what I need and what I want and what's going to give me inner peace and tranquility and joy
Mm.
for the next 20 or 30 years of my life? And once I started to really go and find those answers, that was when the shift came. That was when the
Yeah.
voice rose and
Love
started to speak
that.
out and started to
Oh.
ask and started to invite people into conversations. And I suppose I stopped worrying so much about what was going to make them uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
and became really powerful in advocating for what I needed for me at that time.
Beautiful.
And it changed. It changed everything.
Of
And I did. I
course.
walked away from the high powered job with
Yep.
big money,
Yep.
um, and I already had my career coaching business part time because I've been helping people for 15 years at that stage.
Right.
And then I was like, I already have something and I already love it. I love this more than the corporate job. What am I doing? And so I transitioned into full time career coaching and business copywriting. And that's what I do now. And I
Love
do it on
it.
my terms. I work to my
Yes.
schedule. There's always travel woven into my entire year. So every year I go on a trip somewhere because travel has been a
Yep.
big passion, but I've sometimes put it on the
Yes.
back burner. But since I
Right.
left corporate, I've traveled to a country or more than one country once or twice a year. I have
Yep.
a trip coming up for Europe for 6 weeks, leaving on the 15th of May. I can't wait.
Of
Right? But
course. Of
I've created
course.
life so that I
Yes.
can do that now.
Yes. So I love what you're saying. You created your life. Your life isn't creating you anymore.
No,
You were in the driver's seat. Thank you very
I am in
much.
the driver's seat. Yep.
And why not provide that opportunity for every woman worldwide?
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
we do that, everything will shift in this whole world. I'm
Yeah.
curious about one question that I do have, and that is this: how do you guide women, menopausal women, to turn one of life's toughest phases into a trigger to go and get that dream career? You've spoken about how people have come to you. I think I've got to quit. I want to exit. How do you help them go get that dream career that you have found in your life?
Well, I think one of the first things for us to do is to dig into our own stories and
Yeah.
find the skills, the talents that can become transferable into another industry or into your own business.
Yeah.
And when a lot of people try and avoid that foundational piece, but I've seen that when someone digs into the story and goes and I've got a process on my website which is called mining your story, and it's about mining the gold nuggets of your story, the
Yeah.
valuable pieces of your story, your professional story and your personal story, and then framing it up and translating it into something that someone else wants or that someone else can use. But
Right.
people avoid that foundational piece. But what I've seen is just the act and the process of mining your story for the gold nuggets builds the confidence that is often lacking in women, right?
Yeah.
If
For
we've been
sure.
beaten down or we've been working hard or we're tired all the time, your confidence can wane or fluctuate, right?
Yeah.
But when you go and take the time to dig into your own story, and that's why I have that particular resource, and it's a free resource on the website,
Perfect.
that is where you start. That is where you start.
Yeah.
You need to go and dig into your story. Number one,
Yeah.
you need to own your own story. You need to be
Yes.
proud of your story, and you need to
Yes.
share the value of your story and your experiences and the talents and skills you've learned along the way,
Mhm.
because that's what becomes valuable to someone else.
Perfect. I
But
love
I
that.
see people wanting to make a jump without doing
Yeah.
this foundational piece, right? And then they're not confident when they're having to negotiate in an interview, when they're having to sell themselves. They don't sell themselves with confidence because they don't actually know their own
No.
gold nuggets of their own
Yeah.
story. So
Yes.
I always
Yeah.
start every single person who comes to work with me, that is where I start with them,
Perfect. And what you're
right?
doing is making sure they really understand, like you said, their gifts and talents, and taking that
Yes,
information and using it for you, by you, because of you, right? Not
correct.
for the outside purpose, but
That's right.
for what's in your
For
heart center.
you.
What is it? Yes. It's all
Exactly.
about you. And
What
this
is
is
your
the
heart work
powerful
all
piece.
about? Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. What's your heart
yeah.
work? I love that.
Because imagine
Brilliant.
how much what you just alluded to. Imagine how much the world could change if women stepped
Oh,
up and did their heart work.
I
Okay.
just got chills. Just got chills. Like, oh, that's it. Yeah.
we
Perfect.
are the nurturers in the world.
Mhm.
We are the ones that can multitask and do that type of multitasking better
Mhm.
than men. And that's not to disparage men, but even
No.
my partner recognizes. He says, I look
Yep.
at you and I look at how you do all the different things that you do. He said, me, I can only focus on one thing at a time
One. Mhm.
to do it well. He said, whereas he said,
Yes.
somehow a woman knows what's going on with the children, what's going on with the husband, what's going on with the aging parents, what's going on with girlfriends, and
Yeah.
working her career as well.
Right.
So it is
Yes.
just, it's the way we've been gifted, but we often don't use those natural gifts
Yes.
the way we
Right.
could
Yeah.
use them.
For sure. For sure. And when we use those to benefit ourselves, then everybody else, what I call in our sphere of influences,
Yeah,
are influenced positively because everything shifts, just like you've
absolutely.
shifted. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it. Thank you so much. Are there any last words that you would love to share with our audience, just in case? I mean, there's a lot we haven't talked about. I know we could go on for hours, but is there anything that you would love to make sure that the audience takes away at the end of our conversation?
So the key message I always have for people is
Yep.
take the next action that you can take, because nothing moves without action. We can sit and we can wish to transition to a new career, or we can wish to have our finances improve, or we can wish to be healthier, whatever it may be. But nothing happens without action.
Right.
And instead of overwhelming yourself with a list of all the actions you need to take to create this career change or to improve your finances or whatever it may be, identify the next best action you can take. Only one.
Mhm.
Do that
Yes.
action, then do the next one and the next
Right.
and the next. Because when you do that incrementally like that, it compounds, the energy compounds. Your motivation is heightened because you've had a win. You've done action number one, you've completed it, you can tick it off, win.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the brain tunes in and the brain becomes motivated to then take the next action. So my message to everybody, and this is what I've always done in my life, what is the next best action I can take? What is the
Yeah.
next one action I can take? I don't need to
Right.
take 12 or 15 or 20. What's the next one? And
Mhm.
sometimes for people wanting to change a career, it is simply maybe go and mine the gold nuggets of your story. Then maybe after that is now I need to identify all my transferable skills. Then maybe the
Right.
next one after that is now I need to go dust off that resume that I haven't looked at for 15 years and start reshaping it. And maybe
Right.
the one
Yeah.
after that is, oh, LinkedIn's there. I can start building connections and building a network. Maybe I need to go study LinkedIn. Like,
Mhm.
only take the one action at a time. Because
Right.
as you get the action completed, the brain registers that as a win
Yeah.
and it stays motivated to keep going. Success
Exactly.
happens because of single action steps taken.
Mhm.
I've seen that through everything. I see it with my clients, and it still works for me in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you're saying because it reminds me of that, I see a lot of it, the staircase, and people don't
Yes.
jump because if they
No.
jump, it's easier to fall. But if you just take it one
Correct.
step at a time, right? If
That's
you're gonna
right.
jump, it's like, oh, you missed, bang, down you go, and now you're injured and you can't even climb the stair because you broke your leg. So the process
That's
is
right.
just really taking left turn on you. So I love
That's
what you're
right.
saying. And thank you so much for sharing. I know it'll be in the show notes to get into your website and grab that mining free gift that you have there. And don't shy away from it. It's a project you can do by yourself. Nobody else you don't need to run around and say, "Here's my
No.
results. I don't want to do it." Do it
No.
for you, by you, because
Do it
of
for
you.
you and
Yeah,
gain that
for sure.
understanding and that confidence in
Yeah.
all that you've already achieved, overcome, worked your way through, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we tend to, "Oh, well, that was years ago." Yes, it was. And yet you still remember it because it's had an impact on you and you need to
On
add
you.
that to that list of, "Oh, this is something I do well." So
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Pleasure. Pleasure. It's been wonderful
all
chatting.
absolutely. People can find you, through your website, and
Yep.
where
Happy
are you
Career
from,
Hub. I'm from Melbourne,
Wendy?
Australia, and my website is
Yeah,
happycareerhub.com.
perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
We do have those in the show notes so people can find you there. Wonderful to meet you.
Yeah.
Wonderful to share
Yeah,
this
you
space with
too. You
you.
too. Been
Have
great.
a beautiful trip in May. How awesome. Don't
I
forget to
can't
come
wait.
back.
Yeah, I literally work to travel. That's what I do at this stage in my life now because I've managed to set up so many different things where there isn't huge financial burdens anymore, and I have a great
Yeah,
partner.
yeah,
And so I work to travel. I love my
absolutely.
work and I love to travel, and I get to do but one because of the other. So
Absolutely. Perfect. Wonderful.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
wonderful.
Wishing you all the best. And
You too.
if you have not yet subscribed or followed our podcast, make sure that you do. It's on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, and all the other ones that are out there. Oh my gosh, there's so many anymore. It's fabulous. And we also have this on our YouTube channel. So follow, subscribe. You don't want to miss any of these incredible conversations that I get to share with you, the audience. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.